Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tipped. Julian here for another big episode ahead of your fantasy draft. I'm going to be outlining 10 players that you should be avoiding in your drafts because I think that they're either just too risky or they're going at way too early of an ADP. Before we get started, guys, drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're trying to hit 8,000 subscribers before the start of the regular season, so every subscribe would really mean a lot to me. Thanks so much, guys, and if you do want to take your support to the next level, consider hitting the join button on YouTube or on Patreon, and you get access to my complete draft rankings and the ability to DM with me one-on-one and ask me questions, all that you want if you do join on Patreon. All right, so let's jump into the content now. Let's take a look at the first player that I'm avoiding in drafts this year, and that is Brock Boeser. Now, the Canucks had an amazing season last year, but unfortunately, that amazing season is not going to be replicable. The on-ice shooting percentage of the Canucks as a whole was really high last year, and that's something that's not going to happen again this year. It's just really unlikely. Okay, Brock Boeser shot the puck at almost 20% last year. His career shooting percentage is 13.8, which is a lot more realistic. So instead of 40 goals, he's probably going to score closer to 27 this year, which is still very good, but his ADP is just way too early, and that on-ice shooting percentage was 12% as well, so there's going to be quite a bit of regression there. And I have him personally ranked as my 117th best fantasy player this year, which is almost double his current ADP. Avoid him in drafts. There's plenty of good stuff in his range. The second guy on this list is Macklin Celebrini of the San Jose Sharks, and there's always too much hype for the first overall draft pick in fantasy hockey, and it's so rare that they actually reach their draft ADP. I'd avoid Celebrini here. Now, I know his ADP isn't really that high, but there are so many good natural centers. You can literally be getting Brock Nelson around this ADP, and he's a sure thing basically to score 30 goals. He's done that in 3 consecutive seasons. I would definitely rather go for a surefire thing than a shot in the dark like Macklin Celebrini, especially since he's on a very bad San Jose Sharks team. The next guy on this list is Gustav Nyquist, and he's not going early in drafts, so I'm not suggesting you avoid him because of that. But I don't think Nyquist has even close to the year he had last year. Why? Well, I do think he's still going to be playing with Forsberg, probably at least, on that top line with him and O'Reilly. But he's definitely losing out on that top power play spot, guys. Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault both just joined the Nashville Predators, so that top power play is probably going to be Stammer, Marchessault, O'Reilly, Forsberg, and Josi. Nyquist doesn't really have a spot there unless there's an injury. So those 24 points that he got last year on the top power play, those probably he won't get this year, guys, which is why he's a lot less valuable in my opinion, and I'm avoiding him in all fantasy drafts. The next guy on this list is Brent Burns of the Carolina Hurricanes, going at an ADP of 114.7, and he really showed the first real signs of decline last year, at least fantasy-wise. Despite plenty of power play one time, he was not good last year, notching only 43 points and okay peripherals. His shots really went down last year. With Gostisbehere in the fold, you have to imagine that he loses power play 1 this year, which decreases his value even more. Unfortunately, at the age of 39, he actually turns 40 this year during the season, his days of fantasy relevance are just about over. Avoid Brent Burns, especially this early. The next guy on this list is Brandon Montour, currently going at an ADP of 81.8, and I think that he's a huge bust potential this year. Now, I do know that Dunn has an injury designation on Yahoo, but he's going to be good to go for game 1 of the regular season in all likelihood. Now, Vince Dunn is probably going to continue to man the top power play in Seattle. And I know what you might be thinking. Yeah, Seattle runs 2 power play units though. So Montour's still going to get plenty of power play time, sure. But Seattle's power play is really not very good. And Montour, as it is, struggled on the power play on a very good Florida Panthers team last year. So you're telling me he's going to do good enough to be ADP 81? On a worse Seattle team on power play 2, absolutely not. I think Montour is a very big potential bust this year, and I'm absolutely advising everybody to avoid him here. My next player to avoid is Jeremy Swayman, going at ADP of 28. Yeah, I'm not paying a second to third round pick for a guy who's not signed and may not be signed until December. And that's if he doesn't hold out longer and miss the whole year. Obviously, that's super unlikely, but I sure as heck am not taking that kind of risk that early in my draft when there are so many good options available and so many good goalies available even later in the draft. Avoid Jeremy Swayman. Let one of your league mates draft him. My next guy to avoid is Luke Hughes, going in at ADP of 112.2, and he is going way too early in drafts. He was a rank 300 plus player in fantasy leagues last year, with power play one time almost the entire season. And now Dougie is healthy and back and may even take some of that power play time. Also, his peripherals are going to have to be a lot better if he wants to have any kind of fantasy relevance. His peripherals last year were absolutely abysmal. Pair that all with the fact that he's injured and could be out until November 7th or so. Yeah, I'm avoiding him this year. Listen, I hope he proves me wrong and has a real breakout great season, but he's not worth it where he's going in drafts with so much talent available in that part of the draft. The next guy on this list is Sam Reinhart. Now, I have him ranked actually pretty high in my rankings because everything that he did last year pointed to it being at least somewhat replicable. The thing is, that was a contract year for him. Now that he secured the bag, I don't know he'll be quite as motivated to reach quite those same heights as last year. I do still think he's going to have a good year. Is he going to be a top 25 player? I don't know about that. In the past, he was always a top 100, 150 player. And although I do think he's going to be better than that, there is a little bit of bust potential considering how high he is going this year in drafts. The ninth guy on this list is Miro Heiskanen, and he's the 9th defenseman off the board in fantasy drafts. I personally have him as the 24th best defenseman in my rankings. His biggest problem, guys, is his peripheral stats. They're not good. And also, does Thomas Harley maybe get some power play one time instead of Heiskanen this year? Harley looked really, really good last year. It's just a lot of reasons, and I'm just going to avoid him at this very premium price. He's definitely not worth the ticketed price here. And finally, I guess we have some people on Yahoo Fantasy who thinks it's funny to draft Knies and Rempe at number 1 overall in a bunch of mock drafts because their ADPs are absolutely ridiculous. Knies is currently going at ADP of 35.0 and Rempe is around the same. Listen guys, Matthew Knies is draftable in the very late rounds of a deep draft, but Rempe shouldn't really be drafted in any leagues except those that highly value hits and penalty minutes. Definitely do not draft these guys in the top 100 or 150 players. That is for sure. And that's it, guys. Did you enjoy my list today? If you did, drop a like and hit that subscribe button. If there's anything you disagree with, let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. Until next time, guys, I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.